Welcome to RGBA, colorful tech news and reviews. This is episode 87. My name is Alexandre Veralagese, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tyler Menard. All right, let's jump right in. A little bit of follow-up from episode number 83. We discussed the Gray Key, which is a device that police, law enforcement basically uses to hack into iPhones to get either some files, some iCloud backup, or the whole damn content of the phone, basically. And this was reported by a motherboard a couple of months ago, and now we are learning that police across the nations are now buying these devices. It goes from between $15,000 or $30,000 each, and can do two iPhones at once. But the real thing that is the most surprising is that this thing works right now, as of today, on both iPhone 10 and iOS 11. So up to the very, very, very most recent devices. So chances are they found some loophole, some hackable feature where they were able to exploit the devices on the latest iOS versions and the latest hardware also. So whatever Apple put in place, I think it was just before the iPhone 8 and 10, they changed the hardware to make it more reliable security-wise and less prone to hacking. Somehow what they did was not sufficient, because right now anybody can get their devices hacked, it seems.
This is not good news.
No, it's not.
And they don't say like who bought it, right?
No, because this device is from a private company that kind of like Celebrite and other hacking company. They try to hack the devices and sell solutions for police enforcement. And usually those like solutions could come at a super high price, like $500,000 or $1 million. And in this very case, they went the other route, the Walmart route, basically, tried to sell this for pennies instead, and try to sell to hundreds, if not thousands, of law enforcement agencies across the nation, and maybe across nations. Maybe there's also other countries as their client list. So that's pretty impressive and like alarming, because that means that for whatever reason they want to get your devices, they can run this, find some proofs and incriminate you. At least in Canada and United States, they cannot like force you, and they cannot use that those proofs in court. But still, there's so many other nations in the world that do not have the same privileges for personal protection, that they might be using that devices to do harm to their citizens. So yeah, it's pretty scary. So starting off with the news, let's start with some retro console gaming. If you remember a couple episodes past, we discussed the we discussed the NES Classic, the SNES Classic, and these were hotcakes. They sold crazy. Everybody ran. They had resellers on eBay selling them for $500, $700 each. Crazy prices. But now, as we were guessing, Sega saw that this retro vibe was working. So they basically announced this week a new Sega Genesis Mini, or Mega Drive Mini for our European and Japanese friends, by way of their official Twitter account. So they showcased a little photo where you see one of the Sega employee holding that little mini Sega Genesis console. So that's a 16-bit console from the SNES and Sega Genesis era, which will come in 2018. So we don't have any specific dates for now, but they are jumping on this bandwagon also. But the weird thing, I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's been a console that's being sold on Amazon for like many years now. It's called the Sega Genesis Classic Game Console 2017 version. So it's a $45 US console that comes with 81 games pre-installed. It's like it doesn't look like a Sega Genesis per se. The little console looks like like half a cylinder, and comes with two remotes with those 6 buttons. It looks legit, but it's probably not. It's probably some kind of loophole, maybe because the hardware expired or the patents expired, so they're allowed to sell that. But this is like made by AR Games, so I don't know what's up with that, but it's been available for a long time. and has 81 games. So it's pretty interesting. It has all the Sonic's game, it has all the Mortal Kombat games, and like even more crazy games like Sonic Spinball, Sonic and Knuckles, and there's so many there. Golden Axe 2, Altered Beast, like all the good ones are in there basically. So I don't know what's gonna be happening with this company or this console when the official one comes out, but chances are they might receive some cease and desist to stop selling this console and focus on the real Sega one. If I remember correctly, there's also another one that I saw a while back that was also probably a Chinese clone of some sort, where you could use SD cards for the ROMs. So you could put basically every game that Sega ever released on the Genesis on a SD card. So that's even more interesting, because Sega will probably do like Nintendo, and they're probably going to put like maybe 30 to 50 games pre-install, and that's it. But for real fans, there are these other solutions in place, and of course you can always go the Raspberry Pi way and make your own little emulation station console.
Yeah, a friend of the show, Angelo on Double Density, always talks about his Raspberry Pi. How's it? What do you call it? Like Retro Pi?
Yeah, Retro Pi. This basically is a pre-packaged OS that runs on Raspbian. That is a distribution of Linux that runs on the Raspberry Pi that allows you to run emulation at good speeds. Almost every console up to maybe PlayStation 1, depending if you have a very recent and powerful Raspberry Pi 3 Plus, or if you have a older generation, you might need to scale down maybe a generation or two in video games to be able to run maybe N64, or maybe just stop at Super Nintendo or GameCube. Not GameCube, Super Nintendo. So depending on the console, you have different results, but it's very interesting. I have this side project I should eventually do. I just keep on postponing it. I bought a couple years ago, if you remember, there was this iCAD, which was a April Fool from ThinkGeek.
Yes.
So it was an iPad cabinet, arcade cabinet, where you put on your iPad and you pair this device via Bluetooth as a Bluetooth keyboard, and you have a joystick and a couple buttons, and you can use this as the controller for the iPad. So many years later, this was discontinued, and I figured that if I wanted to make myself a nice little Raspberry Pi retro cabinet, I could use that. So I hunted down on Kijiji somebody, and I think it was like in Laval or whatever, who sold one for like $30, and I sent my friend to get it. And when he got there, like the guy said, "Okay, it's $20 and it's yours." So the guy even lowered the price like that. So okay, who cares? I don't care. $20, fine. It was perfect shape, tip-top shape, and my plan is to strip all the electronics from this, include real Sanwa arcade cabinet joystick and buttons to make it very nice, hook this to a controller board that can be plugged in a Raspberry Pi, so I have a real cabinet for gaming. The only thing that I'm missing, and I'm being picky about this, and that's exactly me, I want to find a screen that is the exact size of that cabinet. So the cabinet is 4:3-ish kind of ratio, so it fits well in an iPad. But most of the screens you can find online are 16:9. And all of the Raspberry Pi screens that are cheap are 16:9. So at one point I found like a distributor in China who sells all the brands of LCD screens. And you also have a bunch of options, like if you want HDMI input or whatever. So I found this, but I still haven't found or took the time to look at all of those devices and find the perfect screen, because I want something that fills the space as much as I can. So I don't have like a 4-inch borders around it and have a super small screen in the middle. I want something that fits well. But basically all my parts are chosen. I have a list on my computer of exactly which joystick, which button, the controller board, all the power button. There's also a push button for power. I have also like little cheap Logitech speakers I can put in. So like everything is decided. I just need that screen and to actually do the thing myself. So, but it's my long time project. One day it's gonna come to fruition, but not today.
And did you bring that thing to work, or did you receive it from a friend that, like, at work or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
From a friend at work. Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah. So it's pretty nice project. I just need to do it, and should just kick myself in the butt and do it. But yeah.
So you were all over the NES and SNES. Are you gonna get the Sega Genesis also?
No, I once owned a Sega Genesis for like 4 months, which was a weird time because it was a time where the console wasn't new, and I wanted to have something for Christmas, and there were no real games that were tempting. So I said, okay, this Genesis was like in a rebate and stuff like that. So let's ask for this. So I asked for that one with the Aladdin game and Sonic 2, I think, and had fun for a couple of months. But once I was done with those games, I went to the video club, and there was nothing really interesting for me to rent. So I ended up selling it basically and get more SNES games with that money. So I'm not gonna buy it. I don't have any real retro attachment to those games. So I'm just gonna skip this one versus the NES or SNES, which I own, and I put in the ROMs of all the games I have on the cartridges. So I have all my setup preset with all my games, my childhood games. So it's nicer like that.
Okay, I'm not gonna get it either. I think no surprise to you.
Yeah, no real surprise there.
No, I never played Sega. I think I used to play it at Toys R Us, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, those classic arcade-like setup that we can put a console in there with a TV.
Yeah, I play it at Toys R Us, but I don't think I had a friend or anybody that had a Sega. The biggest console for me was like the N64, because my neighbor had it, and we'd play Mario Kart or something, and GoldenEye.
Yeah, Mario Kart. GoldenEye, yeah, that's classic. Wave Race was also amazing.
Nope, don't know.
Right. Oh no, that was one of the I think it was one of the first like realistic games with jet skis, and the water physics was amazing. It came from the arcade, so there was also like an arcade version that was quite fun. But seeing the port, like the quality of the video game that they brought to the NES, was impressive at that time, and I had a lot of fun because they were different players with different characteristics, and some of them were very hard to control. But once you get good at the game, these guys were super fast and they were amazing. And there was another dude which was not so fast, but he was crazy for flips and jumps and everything. So you really could have fun in any way that you prefer with this game, and doing stunts whenever you can to impress your friends and everything was a great game. So talking about classics, there's something that came up this week that was pretty interesting. Retro fans will know about the King of Kong documentary, which was a documentary about the highest scores on the Donkey Kong arcade cabinet. This was held by Billy Mitchell, which was this crazy guy who is actually selling like hot sauce and everything. And he basically did a 1982 score of 800,000 points. And it stayed like that until 2004, when he came back with a 900,000 point score. And during that time, the early 2000s, that's when the King of Kong documentary was done. And there was also this other guy called Steve Weeb, who did a 985,000 points. So he was now in 2005, the leading one. And then Mitchell came back with a total of 1,050,000 points. And then somebody else beat him, I think it was in the 2011 or something, with 1,061,000 points. So after careful consideration and investigation, Twin Galaxies, which is an arcade shop that is famous for holding contests since I think the 70s, about high scores and everything. They're kind of like the how can you describe this? It's at first it was an arcade, but then it became kind of like a cult classic where all of the top players of the world would go to do some face-off and try to get the exact scores that they can do. And basically this whole documentary was about Steve training to try to beat Billy Mitchell's score, and the number of hours he passed, number of years he practiced, and everything was set up so that he could eventually get a good score. And he eventually beat Mitchell. But the thing is that Mitchell ended up providing videotapes of him doing the scores, and after investigation, they realized that the hardware that he was using was not a real official cabinet. It was either emulation or a modified cabinet, because I think it's related to the way that the display changes pans when you're changing levels, and that distortion or whatever pixelation that's happening. And they basically killed his scores. He was removed from the high scores, which means that his 800,000 points, 900,000 points, and the million points, which he had for a long time, they were all removed. And now he's even banned from Twin Galaxies. and to ever participate in other contests. So this is good news for people looking for the truth. I'm happy that we finally know exactly what happened and that the real winner could actually get their names recognized, and that this guy, this fake guy, was removed from the whole top scores. I had in the show notes the King of Kong trailer, which is a just a trailer of the documentary, which was on Netflix a while back. I'm not sure if it still is. I think it's not, but probably can find it somewhere on the internet, and it's probably on iTunes also. So yeah, that was pretty impressive to see this finally come through. All right, so discussing real numbers is hard with Apple devices. We never really know how many they're sold, but there are rumors that Apple is supposedly slowing down the HomePod production. Is it because they overshot the number of units that they were going to sell, or is it because they overproduced, maybe to get cheaper parts to make more profits from those devices? We don't know, but Bloomberg has an article that basically says that they are slowing down exactly the production of the HomePod. There are many reasons for that. We can discuss this at length. The most obvious one would be that this market is already mature with other high-profile contestants in the Google and Amazon of this world. And it's hard for Apple to get a good shot at these guys when these guys seems to have a better technology for voice recognition and also an app ecosystem, or a skills ecosystem if you prefer, that is way bigger than Apple's. So it's a hard world to jump in and try to get the crowning jewel, but they're trying, and maybe it's going to be like the Apple Watch. At first it's going to be slow and then it's going to pick up, or maybe they're not going to be able to really make a dent in the market. But once again, we won't have any units for sure in the next quarter releases, so it's hard for us to really get the numbers. But yeah, that's hard for them.
I guess it's even harder when you can't like show the product to your friends, or they have to come to your house. You know, I think like the Apple Watch, when you had one since day one also, and like a lot of people ask you like, hey, what's that? And then you talk about it, and they always ask you like, so do you like it? Is it worth it? And you give your opinion and all that. So I think that brings like a lot of publicity for the products. But now the HomePod is at the house, so you're not going to really showcase it. I have a little adventure corner story after about the HomePod, so I'll keep it for that. But I think it's one of the problems also. It's harder for like the word to mouth, like, hey, this product is cool, get it.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with Alexa and Google Home. Like, is it nice? It looks nice. Is it good? Well, I can't really show you because you're not at my house right now, but
right.
Yes, it's good. How do you use it for? Well, I use it for this and that, but like the Apple Watch, everybody will use it differently. Some people will be strictly sports related. Some people will be strictly notification triage. Others will be maybe just business meeting alerts and I don't know, like stand-up rings, stuff like that. So everybody is different. So it's very hard to say. Whereas the iPhone, when it came out, the reduced set of feature made it easy for us to say, hey, look, here's an iPhone. You can do music. You can do video. You can do maps. You can do SMS. Like, and each app had a single feature, and eventually there was even the whole App Store, so there was an app for that. So no matter what you were thinking, there might be an app for that, and there was easy discussions and easy conversation starters to discuss. Hey, what's your app? What was your favorite app at the moment? But for the HomePod, physically, there's nothing you can hold. Physically, there's nothing you can really show unless the people is at your house. And also, it's all voice controlled. So there's no interface. There's no design of any interface, screens, and there's no apps. There's a few intents, but they're not as developed as on the iPhone. So it's very hard to promote that device for people who have it.
Right, because I feel like we had like the same news about the iPhone, the Apple Watch when it came out, and like I've not sold, but I've sold people on buying one just because they asked about it, because they had no intention. Like they come in saying, hey, it's so stupid. Why would you buy a watch? No. Just look at the time on your phone. And then like a couple of months later, they all come up and say like, hey, like which one should I get? I really want one. No. I looked into it. So, but it's just not the same thing with the HomePod unless people come home and then they start playing music, and I don't know. And also there's a rumor about being like a cheaper, smaller one.
Yeah, we had this for a while. So there's that, but like just to come back on the Apple Watch, also there's a design angle on that, so you can get different colors, you can get different bands, you
Like a
can
fashion
change the
aspect.
band. Yeah, so there's a fashion aspect. So even if people don't really understand the technology part, they say, okay, it's a nice watch. There's a few apps, but there's a bunch of cool bands I can change. So, but the HomePod, there's nothing. Like it's either black or white, and it stays on the shelf. That's it. So it's hard.
Because the Apple Watch was not a big problem for my mother-in-law, because she wanted an Apple Watch. She used her Fitbit a lot for like last Christmas, and then the deal, not the deal, but the thing was like, okay, if she really likes her Fitbit, we'll get her an Apple Watch this year, like all the kids if you want, and the husband, whatever. And like one of the big pain points for her was she didn't like the big rubber bands, so we had to get her like a cheap knockoff Milanese loop from Amazon.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because you discussed with us that story, but you never had any conclusion. So in the end, she got her Apple Watch. She got a nice band, and she still loves it.
Yep, she got the white band, so it's like not too bad, but she just found it was too like toyish to go to work every day, and that's why she walks to go to work and all that, and she really wanted to get her steps and all that. And I think we share like activities with her also, and she's like doing workouts all the time for like 5 minute stuff, and everything is counted as her workout. She loves it. She's always
Nice.
like, right now it's 9:39 in the morning, and she's put in like 50 minutes of exercise.
Wow.
Yeah, she really works out a lot. She likes running and elliptical machines. So I get notifications like all day about her feeling me bad.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the same thing happens when you do your evening workout, and I'm in my my couch watching Netflix. I'm like, oh,
That's like kind of cheating workout just to fill in the rings, but we won't tell anybody.
yeah, we won't tell that. You know who doesn't like leaks, and especially press leaks? Well, it's Apple. They even went further this time. You know, a couple of years ago, they discussed the whole issue. They even publicly said to employees that it's whenever you leak something, you're kind of doing a disrespect to your colleagues who worked hard on that, and they need their spotlight on them for WWDC or whatever the event, so that they have their moment to shine on the public. So when you do a leak and everybody knows about the features ahead, that's a disservice you do to your colleagues. Well, this week Apple went a step further, and they published an internal memo explaining that they don't want employees to leak, and that last year, so that's probably in 2017, they caught 29 leakers in the company, and 12 of those were actually arrested, and they went as far as to do legal actions and criminal charges against some of these 12 employees. So it's not just that you're doing a disservice to your peers, but it's also that you're exposing yourselves to legal action and criminal charges that could potentially result in, I don't know what's the laws in California, but maybe some jail time depending on what you did. I don't know what's the exact laws about corporate espionage, but there's also probably an angle like that they can use. So yeah, it's pretty intense. Do you know who signed this memo? Was it like Tim Cook or?
No idea. I didn't see the memo.
In the show notes, there's a link to the Bloomberg article where the memo is actually there, but it's not signed or anything. So, and then they just continue on to with the article. So it's very hard to know who signed that. But yeah, it's pretty impressive at which length that they're going to, especially now that Apple itself did their own mistake in 2017 with the botched availability of the firmware updates and the firmware versions for devices and the HomePod and everything. And that's where most of the impressive leak last year came from. Not even from people leaking a design or an idea. It really is those firmware that really killed the ball for the recent announcements of devices.
It's also funny that the message about the leak leaks.
Yeah, of course, as things should.
John Gruber had a good like resume of the post also, and linking to like other instances and all. Every time like the scoop comes out, it's Mark Gurman, And now Mark Gurman is leaking the leak about the no more leak.
Yeah, it's kind of a middle finger to Apple at this point.
Yeah, they must hate him internally.
Yeah, but I don't know. Usually, like when you hear about people over the years having information like that, like Mark has, you know that they probably have like one or two friends at Apple's. But this guy seems to know a lot of people because no matter how many people get arrested, how many people get caught, like he continues to chug on, and more leaks and nonstop leaks every month or something. Almost every week there's something. So he's pretty impressive. So he must have an amazing set of little birdies there.
He has a whole network.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you know what happens when you, as Apple, say stop leaking stuff? Well, somebody else will leak stuff, and this time is the FCC. So the FCC actually leaked a picture, which is stamped Apple proprietary and confidential, showcasing a gold iPhone 10. So that's in a week where they actually say stop leaking devices, then now we have more leaks from the FCC. So it's not really their week for leak prevention. Let's just say that like that.
So, what do you think? Do you think they're going to release this like as a mid-cycle iPhone 10?
Well, I'm not sure. Seriously, at this point, I was mostly expecting, like we were hoping for a product red version mid-cycle, which we got for the iPhone 8, not for the 10. I'm also expecting an iPhone SE2 sometime in March, April, which we are already in April and still haven't gotten. But a mid-cycle iPhone 10, that would be weird. I don't really think that's the proper time, unless there were no really delayed launch across the globe for the iPhone 10. So no, I don't. I don't know what to think about it.
The only option I see either like releasing it now as a mid-cycle, because technically, the iPhone 8 was released like a couple weeks before the iPhone 10. So you have the iPhone 8 mid-cycle, which was the red this week. Then you'd have like the iPhone 10 mid-cycle. Maybe they'll like release this alongside the red, and then or the other option I see is they're gonna keep this as a product like going on next year, and they're just gonna add a color.
Yeah, I think you're right about the couple week difference. That could be it. Seriously, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. Let's have this idea of a mid-cycle color change that we used to have for the iPhone 7 and 8. Let's also do it for the 10. That would make sense. And the gold color is nice. It's not. There's no red connotation there. There's no product red thing. So it's different. It's refreshing. But if they do this year, does this mean that the next iPhone 10 would also be only available in two colors, and we'll get a mid-cycle in gold, or we'll get three colors next year? Well, this year, and yeah, so it kind of makes things a bit complicated, I would say, about the release plan. So if let's say you're getting this brand new gold iPhone 10, and then like in September there's new iPhone 10 2 that come out, and there's no gold, are you gonna wait for the next gold, hoping there's a next gold? Like the last thing that Apple wants is people to hold their purchase because of a color thing. So, but now I'm thinking that if we have 2 consecutive years with a red device of the iPhone 7, iPhone 8 model come up mid-cycle, that kind of like makes a tradition, and we'll get something like that next year with the iPhone 9. But what about the iPhone 10? If we do this now, will it come up also next year? So it kind of like muddies the water about the whole release process and staggering of devices. So it's going to be a interesting year to see how Apple figures all this out.
So talking about the iPhone 8 red,
yeah,
it was released this week.
Yeah, I was surprised. I wasn't expecting Apple to actually listen to the people and release a black front red back version. I was expecting a white front red back like last year, but no, they really came in strong this year. And you actually went to the Apple store, right?
Yeah, I was at the mall yesterday, so I stopped by, and it looks really nice, like really, really nice. A lot nicer than the iPhone 7 before it. I think it has to do just with the fact that it's glass and it's like glossy. I really prefer the glossy look to the the matte aluminum look, or brushed aluminum, or whatever you want to call it. It's still kind of weird because the all the not the bezels, but the ring around it is not glass. So that is like the old iPhone 7 red, and then you have like this super deep, rich red at the back because of the glass. But it's really awesome, and the black front makes a really nice difference.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of changing textures on a device. So if you try to find a way to mix gloss and matte, or a metal finish and glass, that's always something I really loved. That's why I'm such a big fan of the iPhone 5 and iPhone 4 designs, especially iPhone 4, that they mix the glass back and the metal sides. That was perfect for me. And this iPhone 8, that, like you said, metal sides, a glass back, a bright red, not a muted red, if you want, like last year's iPhone 7. So I think the whole overall design of this color scheme is amazing. And I've been discussing this with my friend GP, and his wife is on an iPhone 6 with a brand new battery because of the battery kerfuffle at $29. And even though the battery is good, the phone is getting very slow now with iOS 11. And he was almost going to the Apple store, and then he's like, okay, so if I go there and I look at the iPhone 8 for my wife, then she also need a case. But then if I'm there, I might also look for the iPhone 10 for myself. And he was like starting to rack up a bill of a couple $1,000s. And I'm like, okay, are you sure you want to go to the Apple store today? Think about it a bit more, because that's the kind of little visit that's going to cost him a lot of money. So, but yeah, I agree with you. The iPhone 8 and 8 Plus in red is amazing looking. And yeah, if you don't have an iPhone 8 and 10 and you're up for a renewal, this is an awesome device to look at. Same price, same capacities, whereas the jet black iPhone we purchased last year was, well, 2 years ago, was not the same thing. We had to get a higher capacity in order to get the jet black. But this time, this year, this color scheme, it's the same thing as the other one, 64 and 256. Yeah, so MKBHD did a little unboxing video of the new iPhone 8 and 8 Plus in red, which was, as things are with MKBHD, nice looking and pretty impressive to try to, because it's hard to get a good color. I've seen a couple unboxings online, and color corrections and color technologies and different cameras is hard to pinpoint a good idea of that red. I think MKBHD is the one that seems to be the closest to what I think the iPhone red is. You can tell us because you've seen it in person, but other unboxings don't seem to get that quite red perfectly.
Yeah, I'm with you too. When I saw the unboxing from MKBHD, I was like, okay, this phone is really nice, because I saw it announced. I saw pictures online, but I was like, oh, okay, whatever. It's gonna be like last year's. It's gonna be like weird, like pinkish, not really nice, flat red. And now I saw this video, and that's when I realized, like, okay, this is a nice phone. And you're right, it also looks a lot like it does in person.
I also really like, there's at one point, I think it's at a minute 40 something, there he places a bunch of red devices in the line, like the OnePlus One and the what is this? I think it's there's a Pixel in red, or whatever. There's a bunch of devices, and you can sell the different shades of red. And the last year's iPhone was kind of darker, and this year is way brighter. Not as pink as the Motorola he has on the far left side, but a good balance between clear red and a good red with a good amount of redness, if you want.
Because even the picture I sent you in Slack, you said it looked kind of weird.
Yeah, well, like, the color is hard to reproduce, especially in the Apple store where there's lights everywhere, and these things being made of glass, it's easy to get a reflection or some kind of light refraction against the back. So it's it's pretty interesting.
I also sent you a picture of last year's iPhone 7 in red.
Yeah, true.
That I found. So just to compare, it's from the same store, like exactly the same space.
Same store, same table.
Yeah, pretty much.
2 different years. So moving on to energy. Apple is now powered by 100% renewable energy, which means all of their offices, all of the data centers, and wherever they cannot produce energy for their own consumption, they actually produce energy and feed back to the grid in other countries so that the total basically of the column of consumption and creation of energy actually accounts for zero or a positive number. So from reading the article, we know that they were stuck at 94% or 96% for many, many years. That's usually what happens. People are trying to do their best and they eventually get to a number that is close to 100%, but not actually reach it because there's always countries or offices where there's no real way to offset your energy consumption. But Apple said, no, our plan is to get 100%. So let's do it strongly and reliably. And they spent a couple more months trying to get that last digit of percent, and they finally got it. So anything that Apple consumes in energy is now equivalent to a production of green energy or a consumption of green energy. So that's an amazing goal that they achieved. And they even went further where, I don't know if you remember a couple months ago, we discussed this. They are pushing their partners and their parts providers or business partners to do the same thing and have a renewable based manufacturing or process chains so that they also have the same kind of thing. And now they have convinced 23 companies of their supply chain to actually pledge for a 100% renewable energy for the Apple business they have with them. So not only do they themselves, Apple, push further along this, but they also try to bring along their partners. So that's even better. Not many companies try to achieve this. All right, so following up on discussion we had last week about the Cambridge Analytics, we now have a tool where Facebook can look up the list of users who were affected, and you can log in to your Facebook account and use that tool to see if you were part of the data leak that Cambridge Analytica did. There's only 622,000 Canadians, so it's not that many of us, but still, you can take a look to see if you or your friends were part of that. I don't know if you did the check.
Nope.
Yeah, so I did. I wasn't part of that, so thankfully. Yeah, of course, you have to log in because they need to know your account ID, I guess. And more than that, you can look yourself, but Facebook also starting to inform users that were part of the leak automatically when you log into Facebook. So I'm guessing there's probably a little panel at the top of your timeline with that information. So at least you're now aware of that. Not much you can do though, but at least you know about it. And on a separate note, macOS has started to inform users that are running 32-bit apps that they will eventually be not supported. I did the test this morning with Apple Pi Baker, which is a Raspberry Pi app that allows you to write a Raspbian image to an SD card. And I'm getting the Pi Baker is not optimized for your Mac. This app needs to be updated by its developer to improve compatibility. And there's a learn more link, which brings you to an Apple support page about exactly the 32-bit app compatibility with macOS High Sierra 10.13.4. So you get the usual stuff that we got also when the iOS did that transition. Why am I seeing this alert? Can I still use my apps? And when this transition will be complete, how can I get in touch with the developer? Blah blah blah. So the usual stuff. I don't know how the whole thing will pan out. I haven't really looked at my whole list of application folder and tried to open every app and see if I get this message, but this is the first time I get it in my normal day-to-day work. So I'm guessing I'm not using very old apps, except this one that I specifically installed just for that purpose. But did you get that warning at one point?
No, I didn't see the pop-up either. I don't know how. Can you sort by 32-bit app to see if you have any?
That's a good question. I haven't tried that.
There must be something in the terminal you can ls like the folder or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. So using the terminal, there's a way to find exactly which app has this problem. I just ran the command on my computer and I have, weirdly, the compressor app from Apple, which is the app that basically compresses your video from Final Cut. I got the Apple Pie Baker, of course. I've got a Speed Tools Integrity app, which is an app I use to look at the integrity of a hard drive, external hard drive, or SSD. It basically maps zeros and ones to the whole sectors of the drive and read them back and see if they can read and write properly. I've got a Doxy app, which is a little scanner I use, a little, what you call that? It's a scanner. So it's a little scanner that I use to scan pages. Our Zoom app also we use at work, so it's kind of like Skype but for corporations. I got the LCC, which is the Logitech Control Center, so that's not a good thing. Our dear friend Synology Cloud Station, which is also 32 bits. Indeed, because we rely on that for syncing our audio files back and forth between our Synology drives. Inkscape, don't really use it that much, so that's not too bad. GIF or GIF Brewy, which is a GIF or GIF making app. Two other side apps for integrity, which is QuickBench and ZoneBench. The DVD player from Apple. That's like an old one. Other than that, the rest seems to be okay on my side. The rest are like a bunch of iOS things I built a long time ago, so should be fine. We'll put the link in the show notes on how to exactly run this little command and see if you have some apps that you are looking for to continue using that are not 32 bits. Maybe look at the developer's websites if there's an update, or request an update if the developer can just do it, because I'm guessing that it's not too hard to do. It's probably just recompiling the project using a recent version of Xcode, and you should be fine. Well, not you, but the developer itself.
Okay, all I have is same as you, the Synology Cloud Station. The other are like apps and like demos, whatever, and also an SSD Finder thing. It's you.
Yeah.
It's you gave it to me, or you lent it to me to check Wi-Fi networks and to see if your channels overlap and all that.
Yeah, because I recently reformatted my computer, so that's why I don't have many apps. So it was late last year, so that's why I don't have all those apps there. All right, so moving on to not the rumors corner this week, because we don't have any rumors. Everything was actually leaked this week, and they were leaked from official sources, kind of like the red iPhone that were leaked the day before by Verizon. So these are not rumors; these are actually leaks
by Virgin Mobile.
Yeah, Virgin Mobile. Sorry. And what did I say?
Verizon.
Oh, Verizon. Okay, yeah. So now we're moving on to the adventure corner. As you said earlier, where you had a little adventure to tell us.
Yeah, so we were talking about it's easier for like to watch the people's, like you're just hanging out with your friends and they ask about it and all that. But I had the same situation with the HomePod. A friend was over with his girlfriend, both his kids, and he was helping me set up lights or whatever. So we were playing music, and then like they were like, "What is this source of music thing you just started?" And then so we started talking. I started explaining what it was, and then his girlfriend started talking to Siri to put songs for the kids. The kids were dancing, and then he looked at me. He said, "I need one of these." Like, how do you get this? I need it. So then I was like, it's only available in the States and all that. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna get one. I'm like, what do you mean you're getting one? And then my dad was supposed to go, so he called my dad. He said, hey, please, can you bring me back one? Because he knows he's a longtime friend. I've known him since I'm 5. So he called my dad saying, hey, bring me back a HomePod. My dad's didn't go to the States after all. He found like this other friend, his girlfriend's friend or whatever, that was going to Florida for the week. And so he like organized with her to pick it up at Best Buy. But then we like kind of didn't want them to bring it on the plane and everything, and to carry it like through customs and all that. It's like a pain. So they were actually landing in Plattsburgh, which is like 2 hours from Montreal. And a lot of people that go to Florida or just anywhere in the States, they drive down to the States and they take the plane from there because it's a lot cheaper. And they live right next to the border, so it's not too bad. So he came to my place on Thursday night, and there's a way to do like in-store pickups at Best Buy in the States. So we did that. We called also to like get what's like the cancellation policy with Best Buy and all that. Everything was okay. So we did the order online, and it's kind of weird because if you do an in-store pickup and you're paying with a Canadian card or international card, they call, you can't put your billing address because you can't drop down. Like, there's no drop down to select Canada or other countries. It has to be like a zip code and a state. So they have like this default Texas address that you fill in for the billing address. So it's kind of weird.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the official like Best Buy documentation. So then we fill out that, we put his credit card, and he gets an email from his credit card company saying it was refused. Is this really him? If it's him, please like accept or whatever, like follow this link to accept. So then he accepts, but he's like, he wasn't we weren't like 100% sure. So he called the company, and then they reassured him, yes, it's gonna work. It's not canceled. You let it through. Like, it's gonna be processed. It's okay. So this was Thursday night. His friends was like landing on Friday morning, so picking it up at Best Buy and driving home. And then on Friday morning, he gets another email from Best Buy saying it's canceled.
Oh shit!
So then he orders a new one, like a complete new one. So we had like 2 on order, and then he gets an email around noon saying from Best Buy it was canceled again. So now he called his credit card company, canceled this card. We found like another card for him, and yeah, I talked about it to you yesterday. Also, I went like full on like credit card reward things. So that was with him also. So because we were mad because his stupid card was declining the purchases he was trying to make, even though like he called and said, yes, this is me, let it go. So it ended up his friend stopped at the Best Buy in Plattsburgh and just bought it outright, like without doing the store pickup thing. And the store pickup thing we were doing was just to make sure they had like units, because it said like only a few left, and we didn't want to make him go to the store to not have any left. So, but in the end, it all worked out. And also another little fun like part of the adventure store, his adventure corner. His friend that stopped to buy the HomePod, he bought a TV at the same time at Best Buy.
Okay. That's a nice little extra buy the cash product that you buy when you go purchase.
It's an add-on, a cross sale or whatever they call it.
Yeah, cross sell. Yeah.
Yeah. So wow. He said, "Hey, now I bought a HomePod. Your HomePod cost me a TV," so it was kind of funny.
Yeah, they tend to have good rebates in the States. So especially at Best Buy, if you go there and there's a sale on some device, it's oftentimes like half off or something like that, which we don't have here. So it's not surprising that just go in the store to get a HomePod and then there's a TV there. That's a good TV. That's a TV that you might have seen before that is interesting and is on maybe your future purchase list. Look at the price, it's half off. You're like, oh my God, I should really buy this TV. And that's what happens.
Yeah, and the employee at the Best Buy store was from Montreal. So I don't know if she still lives here or whatever. She knew the HomePod wasn't available, and she knew about the whole TV thing. So they helped her, them look at like the price of Montreal and really see if it's a good deal or no. So that was cool too.
Nice. So he got his HomePod or not yet?
Yeah, he got it last night.
Cool.
He drove.
Any feedback yet?
They drove like 50 minutes from. I think it's almost an hour from where we live to go get the HomePod last night with his kid at like 9 o'clock.
Like you do.
Yeah. And then the friends were like, you made me stop and buy a TV. So you set it up here. I want to hear it, like kind of thing. Like, you don't just take the HomePod and leave. Like, I want to hear this thing that I just went through the pain of getting for you. And he couldn't figure out how to like AirPlay to the HomePod, because he didn't figure out like the, at the bottom of the screen in Apple Music, there's like a little round thing you have to hit.
Yeah, the AirPlay icon. Yeah,
he didn't know about that. So just to show that it's not maybe the easiest or the best UI, and he's pretty good with technology and iPhones and all that. So that was kind of weird.
Didn't know, or it didn't work, because I know Sam Sheffer on YouTube, he tried to do it, and the HomePod would never display on that panel.
No, he didn't know it was like that little button.
Yeah, because that's a problem that many people had on YouTube, is that you should be able to AirPlay whatever you're playing in your music app on your iOS device to your HomePod. But for some reason, sometimes it doesn't work and the HomePod never shows up. And the solution you have is to reset your router, and then the HomePod usually is displayed. So it's kind of a intense process just to have something there, because if you just reboot your iPhone or in your HomePod, it's not enough. Somehow there must be a reset done on the router. So that might have been what happened. But if you say he doesn't know about this, that's probably just missing information there. And yeah, discovery is one of the biggest challenges nowadays, I think, with the Apple devices. So many things is interface less, or if there's an interface thing, it's a small little button. There's so many panels and buttons and slide overs, and it's very hard to discover things nowadays.
And yeah, because he was looking to find it like as a Bluetooth speaker, because he has a Bose right now, like little thing, red thing that you can carry around. Yeah. So he's like, how do I connect my phone to this speaker thing? And I was like, well, AirPlay to it. He's like, I am. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll come tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe we'll reset it or something didn't work. And I said, are you trying to hit this button? He said, oh, I didn't know this button existed. So it's just completely UX.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
And also what I thought about last night is now I have like I'm anxious for AirPlay 2 to come out because I want to try it as a stereo speaker.
Yeah, now you can, because you have two devices in proximity.
Yeah, he lives like 2 minutes away from my house, so I can just go steal it.
Or just go with yours at his place and
yeah,
try it.
Maybe that's easier, resetting mine instead of resetting his.
Yeah. Do that thing for you, because it's harder for people that are not as techy as us.
Yeah, also, other side note, there's a bunch of them for sale right now on Kijiji. Like the online classified Craigslist Canadian version, and I don't know why, but it's only the black version. Like it's all the black version.
Yeah, I think it's the same guy. There's like 5 or 6 ads for a $590,
and they're
in space gray.
They're all listed for like $600, I think ish. Well, at least
$590, $550, yeah. $600.
I got one guy down to $500, but then he said, I don't want to pay $500 if it's going to be black. I'm redoing my whole kitchen and it would fit better if it's white. So he said, I'd rather wait a week and hassle all my friends to find somebody that's going to the United States to get it in white. And it's actually cheaper. Yeah. I think if we buy it in the States right now, it's $485. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I like the $349 US. How much did you pay? $349 US. It sounds better.
Yeah. It sounds better. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of there. That's weird.
If you can get it for $480, even for $500, because we were trying to do the math, they're probably going to be like right now it's $349 US is $445, and Apple's probably going to price them at. They're not going to price it at $449 because it's too close. And like last week, it was $448 the exchange rate. So it's kind of probably going to be $459 or even like. I can't imagine
$469. Yeah,
$469. I can't imagine putting it at like $499. That'd be a bit stupid.
Yeah, because $469 becomes $539 with taxes.
Yeah, because we have a lot more taxes in Quebec than they do in Plattsburgh or in Vegas.
Yeah, or New York or a bunch of other states.
Yeah, so that's why I bought it. It's because I saved money.
Yeah, exactly.
Like $20.
That's your reasoning. Yeah.
Yeah,
so $500 is still a good price. So that's what I'm wondering. People are saying for $590, so they're trying to make maybe $70 out of that thing. So yeah, $500 is a good price if you can get it to that price.
Yeah, that'd be okay, because it's probably going to be all in with taxes here in Montreal. It'd be like $540 or $535 ish.
Yeah, something like that. All right, that's it for this week. You can find the show notes at rgba.fm/87. You can find us on Twitter at _RGBAfm. I am on Twitter at Vallier, VALLIERES.
And I'm Tyler Menard, TYLERMENARD.
Have a nice week.
Have a nice week.